Oh, yeah, my brother says, awesome Bible study. And that was the most viewers I've seen. God is working through y'all. So amazing.
Wow. Amen. Praise the Lord.
Yeah, so awesome. I wish that he would comment sometimes. But yeah, so I was sent this video of Ted Nugent talking about how vegetarians kill more animals uh, than meat eaters, and he went through this diatribe of how, when you till the field, you kill every mouse, you kill every animal out there in order to grow the food for the people, and
Well, you have to worry about those mice,
it's
they
it's
keep the world
interesting.
going round.
It's interesting. I worked on a ranch for a little while that we were actually hired to go out and kill the wild pigs on this ranch. And so I told him, I replied to him and I says, I know, I was one of those guys that was out there killing all the hogs that were in the grain fields. And he says, see, that's exactly what I was talking about. He says, so you agree with me? I says, well, the feed was for the animals, actually. It wasn't for people. So I says, your argument's a little bit mute on that point. But it's interesting how they're trying to villainize, and we'll get into the topic here real quick, because it's interesting how they're trying to villainize the vegetarian through some of these more militant vegetarian and vegan groups of trying to save the world and trying to save the animals. This is more of a pantheistic type view, more of a paganistic type view that's being placed upon all vegetarians and vegans in particular. Now, God has given a message to his last day people that we should be eating a certain way and living a certain lifestyle. Now, why do you guys think God has given us this health message, if you will, especially to the Advent, the last Advent, or the Seventh-day Adventist Church? Is there any reason why you guys can think of?
I don't know. I always think about Daniel, and I think about the beginning, and that's how God created it. And, God didn't create it that we should kill animals and eat them. I mean, he created all to live and to multiply, right? And the way I figure it is, anyway, I would have a hard time hunting or killing, because it's like I figure, well, the elk was given one life, and that's his life. Who am I to take his life away? I mean, if God looks at a sparrow, right? He looks at a sparrow, not one sparrow hits the ground without his knowledge. All life is important to God, I believe.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I don't understand what he's trying to say there. It's just, I didn't see it, so I'm sorry. I wish I had watched it ahead of time, and I'll probably go and get on YouTube and watch it. But obviously the example is there in right there in the beginning in the book of Genesis, and the what God had given us was grains, fruits, nuts, and vegetables to eat, and we were blessed by that. Chapter 1, verse 29. See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. Now, a funny thing about the Seventh-day Adventists is only about half the members are vegetarian, but the other half that do eat meat eat it sparingly. They'll 2/3 of the meals will be vegetarian. And then there's members in the church that are what I would call social carnivores. They don't bring meat to the home, but when they go out to a restaurant, they'll have a chicken, or something like that. And because of this, Seventh-day Adventists as a whole, not just the vegans or vegetarians, but as a whole, are the longest living people on earth.
Yep.
And so, I mean, what does Ted Nugent have against longevity? Living longer. Maybe that's it. There you go. If you live a shorter life, you consume less and bless the earth.
Oh,
Tom
got it.
That's what his message is. Live a shorter life, and you will bless the earth. There you go.
So
population control.
Have you seen how? I'm going to tie this all together. But have you seen how or heard of these mobs? I think they call them, of chimpanzees that attack other chimpanzees and they kill them and eat them. Now, recently, there's been mobs of chimpanzees that have been attacking and killing people and consuming them. And they become extremely aggressive And as you know, a 200-pound chimpanzee is like about the strength of a 900-pound man. They're incredibly strong. And there's a lesson, and when we take the grizzly bear too, let's look at the grizzly bear real quick, because the grizzly bear during parts of the season will eat grass, will eat vegetation, and they're very, roots and stuff like that. And they're very docile during these parts of the season. Towards the end of the season, right before hibernation, they become very aggressive and they go after meat. And the more meat they consume, the more aggressive they get. And this is where most of the attacks take place in Alaska and other parts of the world, like predatory attacks I'm talking, not like, the mother protecting their cubs or something like that. And it's interesting this dynamic takes place because Ellen White said that the eating of flesh would bring about an animalistic behavior in humans. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like our spirituality is connected directly to our diet. And we can observe this scientifically in nature as well. How animals become much more aggressive, much more animalistic, they have less empathy towards like their fellow chimpanzees, if you will, or the bears are even killing each other and eating each other. They're actually cannibalizing one another during these parts of the season. Is it possible that this is happening amongst Christianity, or amongst the Christian world? Are we consuming quantities of flesh that's benumbing our minds? Is it clouding our, because it's one thing, okay, so we're going to add 7 to 12 years to our life if we become a vegetarian. That's a huge benefactor.
I don't know. On that whole situation, there was this Baptist preacher, and he did why Seventh-day Adventists live longer, and all added up to 11 years, and it was for every Sabbath that they kept. He added up during the lifetime would have been the same amount of years. Serious, remember that?
Wait, say again.
I've never heard that before. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, this Baptist was saying that throughout a lifespan of whatever it is, whatever the lifespan is of 70 or whatever, because the average is 88 or something like that. And he did the math out with keeping a Sabbath every week for their whole lifetime. Gave them that extra 11 years.
It would it's just 1 out of 7. So yeah, it would make you add an additional
7 years.
Yeah. No, 13 or something.
Oh, 13.
Like that. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
I had to do the math, but yeah, it makes sense actually.
Yeah, it does make sense that he will bless because they honored the Sabbath.
I did hear that. I absolutely did hear that.
I did hear.
You might have sent it to me actually.
Yeah.
Now I got it. Yeah. Light bulb came on.
I scientifically, the rest of the longevity society, people, there's different people I follow on the subject of longevity. Stanford University has done a lot of good work on that in California, but they're saying, drink alcohol because you like it, not because it's good for you, because it's not good for you. Avoid it if you can get away with it. Well, eat meat because you like it, not because it's good for you. Avoid it if you can. And they're really promoting.
It's very honest.
The choices we have. Right?
There's only one argument for eating meat because I like it.
Well, I hear protein. To me, it's like everyone's telling me, pressured me, you're not getting protein. You're not getting protein.
Yeah, you're getting protein from if you have beans in your diet, you're getting plenty of protein. It's not an issue there.
Are you familiar with Dr. McDougall or Colin Campbell?
Yeah.
I met them both, shook both their hands. They came to our church in Templeton Hills out there, and they both gave lectures. And McDougall calls himself an honourary Adventist, because he has so much in common.
I know.
Yeah.
But there's more modern ones now. There's Dr. Huberman that is doing a tremendous work, and the other one I listen to, I'm forgetting it, is Dr. Tia, both from Stanford. And both very much promoting, the lifestyle the Adventists have been living for a century and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then just be honest, they both drink, 1 beer a month or something like that, and they do it not because it's healthy for us, because I like it, and at least if you're going to do these behaviors that are going to be detrimental to your body. Just be honest.
Be honest about it.
Yep.
Be honest
like it.
about it. Yeah.
Exactly. I like
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. Enough of this. Wine has certain
Trying to
things in it,
justify
Oh,
your
no, they-
addictions or whatever.
These guys are the heirs of the people you mentioned before, and they're just being really brutally honest. Just so if you want to live long, there are certain exercises you need to do, like
definitely.
walking and developing your lungs and stuff like that, and vegetarian lifestyle.
Oh, there's some UFC.
I like that Sabbath one though too, because
Well, that's good.
I do. I believe the Sabbath is a blessing, and He blesses those who honor Him by keeping it.
Well, it's you go to any Seventh-day Adventist university or college, and an intense 4 years that you're there, wanting to compete, wanting to do the best you can, be ready for your SATs or your LSAT or whatever it is you want to do, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist or something like that. And yet they are in this tense program, but what happens on Sabbath? They go to church. They go out in nature. They're taking pictures. They're going on hikes. They're doing all this kind of stuff. They're blowing 1 day a week in this highly competitive culture.
Interesting.
And they're blowing off 1 day a week.
Yeah.
And they do just fine.
They're losing their edge, according to everybody else.
In fact, there was I met this one
They
lady.
probably will do better, I believe.
Well, she was going to La Sierra University, and she was angry at all these Adventists. She was not an Adventist. And she was angry at these Adventists that were blowing off. She was working 7 days a week, and she was angry at them because they only work 6 days a week. And she finally, they told her, they said, no, God will bless those 6 days. Just take a rest. She started trying it, and her grades improved, and she got sleep, and and all these things, and she ended up becoming an Adventist. I met her.
It's
She was
awesome.
hilarious,
Yes.
She was angry at them for being blessed.
Oh.
And then she finally decided, I guess I want the blessing too.
If only everyone thought like she thought.
Well, is this diet biblical?
Of course, it's all through
Vegetarian
there.
diet.
Oh, it's the original diet. It's the diet Daniel was blessed by. It's the diet
The children
logically.
of Israel.
It's in the desert.
Mhm.
It's the diet logically you'll have in heaven, because I really don't see us killing cows in heaven.
How about Elijah? Was he a vegetarian?
I don't know.
Well, he ate meat at first. The raven gave him some flesh.
And then what about with the widow woman?
And with the
Yeah, with bread. Well, that was kind of a starvation diet, so I don't know if that's a good
well,
example.
yeah, the widow, was
It was kind of a starvation diet. Well, you could say it was bread, right?
You
It was definitely
and people
bread.
use Ezekiel 8:14, with
Oh,
the
the
certain
sprouted
diet,
grains.
but that was also a starvation diet, so I don't think it's a fair one.
But
I got to run. I have to go pick up the lady to bring her to church.
well, thanks, Tom.
Yes, thank you, Tom.
It's a pleasure being with
It
you
is.
all. You guys just have a blessed Sabbath, and I'll see you another time.
Fantastic. Sounds great. So Ezekiel, right before his ascension to heaven, right? He was a vegetarian.
Well,
And Israel, before their entering of the promised land, vegetarian. And Daniel, before going into Babylon, I don't know what the correlation is. but it seems as though upon entering this, for God's people in these last days, right before the second coming of Jesus, he has sent a prophet to us to give us this last day message for a special purpose, and that's to prepare ourselves
for heaven,
for heaven.
to
That's
get
it.
used to heaven, right? This is our, how would you always say the Bible, the basics instructions before leaving
Earth.
Yeah, it is. To live like Christ, to get ourselves ready. I mean, just like a runner running a race, do they just all of a sudden go do the marathon? Or do they practice and practice so they're able to do it? And that's our life here. We are to practice to become citizens fitted for heaven. Because heaven, or the kingdom, isn't going to be fitted for us.
That's right. Well, and to be clear, we're not talking salvation by
Or
bananas and
works
oranges
or
here.
anything, yeah.
That's not what we're talking here. This is a specific diet that God has, just like Noah was asked to build an ark, right? I'm sure people were there probably telling him that he was trying to gain salvation by works. There had to be at least one person saying it, right? Because the devil doesn't change. He's been using the same arguments throughout the centuries, you know, and he's probably telling Noah, you really think if there's going to be a flood, that little boat over there that you're going to build, you really think that's going to hold up to all this great tempest that's going to befall us?
But I wonder what they thought when all those animals started coming out of the trees.
They for a brief, Ellen White talks about for a brief moment, they were like in awe, but all of a sudden their awness or whatever was calmed down with the scientists.
Yeah, the scientists had a quick explanation for it, and that satisfied their curiosity.
Yeah. It was only they rejected the Spirit for so long, the conviction of the Holy Spirit, hardening their heart, that when the conviction does come, it's only for but a moment.
And to relate that to the modern vegetarian diet, I mean, there's all this proof out there that it is beneficial, that it does take those animalistic behaviors and settle them down, you know, to the point where we can manage them.
But it wasn't just a vegetarian diet to live longer, to gain those years. It was to be able to move without wheelchairs. It was a better quality.
It was better quality of life. So you're talking not only longer life, but, you know, who cares if you live 7 to 10 years longer if your life is miserable? But we're talking like 7 to 10 years if your life is very healthy and active. That's pretty big. Yeah. But still, the vegetarian diet is still not a perfect diet. The only perfect diet is that fruit of the tree of life. That's ultimately what we're going to need.
Of course, to live forever.
And man, you know, the message for anybody here is, look, we're going to be vegetarians in heaven, so we may as well start practicing here.
Yep, practicing here.
You know, that fruit of the tree of life, that's what we want. And the only way we're going to get that is through the blood of Christ and through his great sacrifice that he has made on behalf of mankind. There is no other way. There is no other path. Hare Krishna or Buddha or Islam, all of those people, God will save some of those people, but it will be through his merits that he will manage to save them.
You know, some of the biggest animals, like the gorillas and those ox, and they all
the biggest and the strongest animals.
They have those teeth though that look like they'd be ready to eat flesh. Those eye teeth,
yeah, the
or
gorillas.
whatever.
Yeah, they look like they rip your throat out, but they're not that way. So.
And they're healthy. They're getting protein.
Yeah, they're pretty huge. I think about that. It was like
big old massive.
I remember this guy I was riding on the bus and this is when I wasn't, vegetarian. This guy's eating a cucumber and he's talking about. He goes, well, look at a horse. They just eat, more or less.
Yes.
Yeah, look how muscular they are.
No, they carry fat meat eaters on their backs. All right, folks. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching our Prophecy Update.